All right, so today we are going to multiply binomials, so commonly known as FOIL. So we're going to multiply binomials and to apply multiplying binomials in geometry. And the one thing we're going to start working there is on factoring trinomials where a is equal to 1 as well. So let's go ahead and let's start multiplying two binomials. Well, you see this x plus 2 squared here. That square there does not mean x squared plus 4. You don't just distribute the 2 through. It means x plus 2 times x plus 2. So that means you can either do the foiling, so first, outer, inner, last, or you can think about it using the double distributive property. So you distribute the x through the second set of parentheses, and then you take the 2 and distribute it through the second set of parentheses. So if I take x times the first set of parentheses there, I get x squared plus 2x. If I take the 2 and distribute it through the second set of parentheses, I get 2x plus 4. And then combine those middle terms because those are the only like terms, so you get x squared plus 4x plus 4. So likewise with the second one there, it does not mean 4x squared plus 9. It means 2x minus 3 times 2x minus 3, and then we have to multiply those. So again, you can either use FOIL, first, outer, inner, last, or you can distribute the 2x through the second set of parentheses, and you get 4x squared minus 6x. And then distribute the minus 3 through, and you get minus 6x plus 9. The only like terms are those middle terms, so combine that minus 6x and this minus 6x, and you're going to get a minus 12x. All right, so now we have a geometry figure here of a square. It says the figure is a square. Write an expression for the area of the shaded region, and then write the answer in standard form. So those are both squares. If you notice, both the outer square and the inner square there, they're both squares. So how do you find the area of a square? So either length times width or base times height. So area of a square, base times height or length times width. So let's go ahead and find the area of that outer square there. So it's just base times height or length times width, so that's x plus 5 times x plus 5. So just like the previous problems, we're going to fold this out or use double distributive property. So take x and distribute it through the second set of parentheses. And we get x squared plus 5x. Now go ahead and distribute the 5 through the second set of parentheses. And we get 5x plus 25. Combine those middle terms. Now we need to find the area of the inner square there, because the area of the shaded in region is the outer square there minus that inner square there. So let's find the area of the inner square. So since it's a square there, it's base times height or length times width, which is x minus 1 times x minus 1. So let's FOIL that out. Or double distributive property. So distribute the x through the second set of parentheses. So we get x squared minus 1x, or x squared minus x. Now distribute the negative 1 through the second set of parentheses. And we get a negative 1x, or a minus x, and then a plus 1. Combine those middle terms. And so then we end up getting x squared minus 2x plus 1. All right, so to get the area of only the shaded in region, we have to take the area of the outer square minus the area of the inner square. So area of outer square, there is x squared plus 10x plus 25. And then we're supposed to subtract off each of the pieces of the area of the inner square. So really you can just change the signs of each of the inner square area. So if I do that, I get a minus x squared, and then a minus and a minus there gives me a plus 2x, and then a minus 1. So what I did there is either I could change the signs of each of those terms so it become a minus x squared plus a 2x, a minus 1, or I could distribute a minus 1 through that set of parentheses there and get a minus x squared plus 2x minus 1. So now I'm supposed to combine my like terms. Notice in this case the x squared terms went away. They canceled out. 10x plus 2x is 12x. 25 minus 1 there is a plus 24. So there's the area of the shaded in region. All right, so let's simplify each of these products. So the first one there, just go ahead and either FOIL it out, first, outer, inner, last terms, or use double distributive property. So you distribute the 2x through the second set of parentheses, and then distribute the minus 5 through the second set of parentheses. So distribute the 2x through, I get 4x squared, and then a plus 10x. Now I'm distribute the minus 5 through the second set of parentheses, so minus 10x minus 25. The middle terms in there cancel out. And we get 4x squared minus 25. So letter B there, I wanted to do a couple of these because they've got two different variables in there. So no different in some ways than the problems we did on the other page where we just had something being squared there. It's not x squared plus 9y squared. You've got to FOIL this thing out, because x plus 3y squared there means x plus 3y times x plus 3y. So again, FOIL it or use double distributive property. Distribute the x through, you get x squared plus 3xy. Distribute the 3y through. 3y times x. Always put your variables in alphabetical order when you write them down, so it's going to be a plus 3xy. 3y times 3y is 9y squared. Combine those middle terms. So 3xy plus 3xy gives us a 6xy. So we end up there with x squared plus 6xy plus 9y squared. All right, very similar with our last one here. They're already written out there for us, so we can just fold it out or double distributed property. So distribute the 4x to the third through the second set of parentheses. So 4x to the third times 4x to the third is 16. You add the power, so 3 plus 3, there's 6. And then 4x to the third times y to the fourth, there is 4x to the third y to the fourth. And then I'm going to distribute the minus y to the fourth through the parentheses. So again, putting them in alphabetical order, so it's a minus 4x to the third, y to the fourth. Now a minus y to the fourth times a positive y to the fourth gives me a negative y to the eighth. You add the powers. Combine those middle terms. Notice what happens. They cancel out. So 6x to 6 minus y to the eighth. Okay, another geometry application problem here. So we've got a formula there. Sometimes I don't even read the problem there. I just see the formula. And I just write the formula down. They said the volume of the cylinder there has a height of x plus 5. And a radius of x plus 2. So I'm just going to plug those in there. So radius there is x plus 2. So r stands for radius, and so that's x plus 2. And so it's still squared because that's what it said in the problem. And then the formula up there says. And then the height there is x plus 5. H stands for height, so I'm plugging that in for h, so x plus 5. So I can't just leave it like that. It says we're going to have to multiply all this out, so let's do that. Remember that x plus 2 squared is x plus 2 times x plus 2. I'm going to go ahead and fold that out first. So I'm going to write everything else first. So folding that out. X times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. Distribute the 2 through, you get 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 2 is 4. Combine those middle terms. All right, we still have to multiply that. So let's take our x and distribute it through. X times x squared there is x to the third. X times 4x is 4x squared. X times 4 is 4x. Now we have to take the 5 and distribute it through every single term in that second set of parentheses. So 5 times x squared is 5x squared. 5 times 4x is 20x. 5 times 4, there is 20. Now we have to combine our like terms. Four x squared plus 4x squared is 9x squared. 4x plus 20x is 24x. And then we just have that constant there of 20. So now let's distribute the pi through. So we get pi x to the third. Always write your pi there in the front of your x squared, or your x value. And then 9 always goes first. Your numbers goes first, and then your pi, and then your monomial there with the x with the x term, whatever that ends up being. So I multiplied every single term in there by pi. So the numbers went first, and then the pi, and then the x term. So then we have our last learning target here, which is to factor 2, where you've got a trinomial here, so you've got 3 terms there connected by addition. And we're going to remember how to factor this. So you want to think what 2 numbers multiply to give you c and add to give you b. So your c being your last term there. So first of all, what times that gives you x squared? That'd be an x and an x. And then you want to think what multiplies to give me 15. So what multiplies to give me 15? 15 and 1 or 5 and 3. But not only has to multiply to give you 15, it also has to add to give you 8. So which one of those adds to give you 8? Well, 15 plus 1 is 16. 5 plus 3, there's 8. So we have to use 5 and 3. So 5 times 3 is 15, and 5 plus 3, there's 8. All right, letter B. What times what gives you x squared? What multiplies to give you 24 and adds to give you an 11? So you can think through your factors there of 24. 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, or 4 and 6. Well, they all multiply to give me 24, but which one adds to give me 11? Well, 3 and 8 are the only pair that add to give me 11 as well. So I have to put 3 and 8 in there. All right, so now we're switching it up a little bit. We've got a negative sign in there. What multiplies to give me x squared? X and x. What multiplies to give me 24 and adds to give me a negative 11? So in order to get a positive 24, they both have to, and adds to give you a negative 11, they both have to be minuses. So it's going to have to be a negative 3 and a negative 8. Those will multiply to give me a 24 and add to give me a negative 11. All right, let's keep doing this. What multiplies to give me 8 and adds to give me a negative 6? So think through it. What multiplies to give you a positive 8 and a negative 6? So they're both going to have to be minuses. Only way to get a plus there is a minus and a minus, or a plus and a plus, and they can't both be minus. They can't both be pluses because you'll never get a minus in the middle. So 8 and 1 or 4 and 2. All right, let's try letter E here. What multiplies to give me a negative 15 and adds to give me a positive 2? So negative 15 there, in order to multiply to give you a negative 15, one's going to have to be a positive, one's going to have to be a negative. So if you think about it, you only have 15 and 1 or 5 and 3. But one of those is a positive, one of those is a negative. So if you think about that, so if I have the middle term there is a positive 2, so the larger number between 5 and 3 there would have to be the positive value. So if I do a positive 5 and a minus 3, when I add them together, I'm going to get a positive 2. All right, letter F. What multiplies to give me x squared? What multiplies to give me negative 36 and adds to give me 9? So start thinking through that. So it needs to be a plus and a minus there because you've got a negative there. The larger number has to be a positive because the middle term there is a positive 9. So kind of think through your numbers there. So 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. All right, so I'm looking there. Since they're basically, because they have different signs there, you're basically going to subtract the two. So which one are you going to subtract and get 9? Well, that'd be 3 and 12. The larger number has to be the positive. The smaller number is the negative. So 12 times a negative 3 gives us a negative 36, and 12 plus a negative 3 is going to give us a 9. All right, what about letter G? What multiplies to give us a negative 21, adds to give us a negative 4? Well, it has to be a plus and a minus, because you've got a minus 21 there. The last term is minus, so it has to be one of each. And this time, the larger term, because the middle term there is negative, the larger term there is going to have to be the minus. So think about, how do you get 21? 1 and 21 or 3 and 7. The larger number there has to be the negative. So I'm thinking it's got to be 3 and 7, because when you subtract the two, you're going to get 4. So larger number's got to be minus. So putting those in there. So if you think about negative 7 plus 3 does give me a negative 4. Area of a rectangle is given by x squared minus 2x. So area of a rectangle, that means length times width. So it says the area is x squared minus 2x minus 35. So all we have to do is factor this, and those are the possible dimensions of the rectangle. So what times what gives me x squared? What multiplies to give me negative 35? So it's got to be a negative 35, so it's got to be, one's got to be a minus and one's got to be a plus. And then we've got 7 and 5, or 35 and 1. So when you subtract the two numbers that you get 2 there, it's got to be 7 and 5. And the larger number has to be what? The minus, because there's a negative on the inside. So negative 7 plus 5 there gives me a negative 35. So those are my dimensions for the rectangle.